Well, good morning. It's good to be with you on this Tuesday morning as we continue together in Luke's Gospel. It's always great to continue reading in God's Word. Yesterday we finished out the Good Samaritan, the story of the lost brothers, two brothers both in need of redemption. So today we're going to be reading one of the more interesting and challenging parables of Jesus' teaching. And this is one of those parables that really only makes sense if we read it in context with what's all around it, because the actual parable itself is it struggles to kind of come out with the meaning sometimes. So you'll see what I mean as we unpack it. But let's read Luke chapter 16, verses 1 through 13. Luke 16, 1 through 13. Then Jesus said to the disciples, there was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was squandering his property. So he summoned him and said to him, what is this I hear about you? Give me an accounting of your management, because you cannot be my manager any longer. Then the manager said to himself, what will I do now that my master is taking the position away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig, and I am ashamed to beg. I have decided to do, I've decided what to do so that when I am dismissed as manager, people may welcome me into their homes. So summoning his master's debtors one by one, he asked the first, how much do you owe my master? He answered, 100 jugs of olive oil. He said to him, take your bill, sit down quickly and make it 50. Then he asked another, and how much do you owe? He replied, 100 containers of wheat. He said to him, take your bill and make it 80. And his master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the children of this age are more shrewd in dealing with their own generation than are the children of light. And I tell you, make friends for yourself by means of dishonest wealth, so that when it is gone, they may welcome you into eternal homes. Whoever is faithful with very little is faithful also in much. Whoever is dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much. If you have not been faithful with this honest wealth, who will entrust to you true riches? If you've not been faithful with what belongs to another, who will give you what is your own? No slave can serve two masters, for a slave will either hate one and love the other, or be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. And I think that last verse right there is the key to this parable. This is a parable about money and about where our true heart is, and um, also about the understanding of what is God's and what is not. I really like a couple of notes Wesley had to say. This notion of the this is the manager acts the notion of the manager acts shrewdly. And the money, the point when Wesley talked to this money, this concept, um, is in his great sermon, The Use of Money, is that the money in this parable is of no real value. Um, Jesus urges us to use our money for what it's really good. Therefore, is to help others. So the money, shrewd is probably a better word than dishonest in some ways, because he is using what he has um, to make a way for himself, and so he's using the, the these these tools in a way to help him survive and to live. Shrewdness is not dishonesty. As a point that compares the parable. Here, the dishonesty is not between human beings, but between beings and God. To hoard one's resources is to be dishonest with God with what belongs to another. That is what belongs to God. One can truly love God or money or not both. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, First Timothy. So the fact that this manager understood that, frankly, all the money here was belonged to God, and he was using the resources in front of him to make a way forward for himself, and was seen as even wise or shrewd by the his manager his the rich man, shows that he was. I said this is a difficult parable because it's almost off-putting to think of it this way, because you're commending a person for being dishonest, really. But the dishonesty is between humans and God. Because for Wesley, he would say that all the resources here are God's to begin with. and that none of us should be hoarding wealth. We should all be using our wealth to help others. So the dishonesty here would be in those of us that hoard our resources so that those in need don't have enough. That for Wesley, he would say that's the true dishonesty. So he would say the manager is to be commended because he's using the resource at his disposal to help somebody else out. He's using the money in front of him to help someone ma- have a way forward. And so this was a tool that he could use to in some ways help others. Now, once again, that'll still get you that's still not we don't need to be fudging the books anywhere, you know. So that's a dangerous thing. But I think for Jesus and for us as we read this parable, the key to this passage is the last one. No slave can serve two masters. For a slave will either hate one and love the other, or be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. That I think is the greater point of this, is that the money is neutral and that this man was not serving money. He was not trying to make money for his rich master. He was basically trying to use the tools at his disposal to make a way forward. Um, and I think it is wise for us to understand where our true heart is when it comes to resources. Our resources are neutral. It's not good or bad. Money's not inherently good. It's not inherently bad. It's what Paul says, this the love of money is the root of all evil. So the manager here used the resources that he had wisely and understood that all the resources actually, at the end of the day, belong to God. So how about us? I think that's where this parable gets to eventually is that he understood that all the resources belong to God and that he used what he had in front of him wisely to make a way for himself and make a way for others. So I think that therein lies the question of this parable for us to consider is, do we consider all of our resources that we have, do we really understand that they belong to God? That God is the owner of all that we have. Our resources, our talents, our gifts, that God is the owner of all these things. And so our job is to be good stewards of what God has given us. That is ultimately our job, is to be a good steward of what it is that God has given to us. That's the key. So with your financial resources, are you a good steward? With your talents, with what God's given you talent-wise, are you a good steward? With your prayers to the church, are you a good steward? Are we using wisely the assets to which God has entrusted us? I think that's the key, is we can't serve both God and wealth. We can serve one or the other. And if we serve God, then wealth becomes just simply a tool, one of the many tools we have to be used by God. So our wealth is, if we have resources, then those are good things. We can use the resources God has given us to help. Our St. Matthew's has been so incredibly faithful this year in giving, and has been so incredibly faithful with our pledges this year as we build our budget next year. The church has been remarkable, amazing. I can't speak enough about how faithful this church has been and how faithful this church is in generosity with giving towards our John Wesley Fund and other benevolences within our church. It's amazing to see it. It's being good stewards. It's stewarding the resources that God has given us well, because they ultimately don't belong to us. Don't belong to us. I remember talking in seminary years ago with a pastor who we were talking about something, and we were taking a little offering, and we were all, in seminary, we we're all broke and young and stupid. And he put probably far too much in the offering plate for this special offering we had in the school. And he said, well, my father's got the cattle on 1,000 hills. That's always stuck with me. It all belongs to God. It all belongs to God. My father's got the cattle on 1,000 hills. God has it all. He doesn't desire our burnt offerings. He desires a broken and a contrite heart. So all that we have belongs to God. Every bit of it. Our resources, our talent, our gifts, everything. It all belongs to God. So the question then is, are we good stewards of it? Do we use wisely the gifts that God has given to us? And that's a challenge for us and a goal for us in the days to come. So, hey, let's all be good stewards today with whatever we have in front of us, whatever God's given us. Let's be a good steward today. Thanks.